This review for The Spy Who Loved Me has spoilers. I am a little bit late when it comes to posting my movie review for the latest James Bond movie in this weekly movie marathon of all the James Bond movies leading up to No Time to Die. I've just been busy this Christmas holiday, but better late than never, so let's continue on with the review. For week 10 of the James Bond movie marathon, you would watch The Spy Who Loved Me. My rating for The Spy Who Loved Me is a 3.5 out of 5, and here's why. The 10th film of the James Bond franchise is The Spy Who Loved Me. It originally released back in 1977. It is directed by Lewis Gilbert, starring again Roger Moore as James Bond, Barbara Bach, Kurt Jurgens, and Richard Kiel. The Spy Who Loved Me is one of my favorite Roger Moore James Bond movies. This movie really stepped up from the previous films and even stepped up in terms of its action from all the previous James Bond movies. The skiing stunt in the prologue of the movie featured James Bond skiing off a cliff and then pulling a parachute while falling down to escape these henchmen. After the prologue, it was the intro credit sequence where we would hear the Spy Who Loved Me theme song sung by Carly Simon. Of all the James Bond themes, they would have the title of the movie to the title of the song, but this is the first to have a non-title of the movie to its song. The song is called Nobody Does It Better. Of all the James Bond themes, this is in the top 5 of my favorite James Bond theme songs. The story of The Spy Who Loved Me is about James Bond investigating a missing submarine from the Royal Navy. As James Bond investigates this missing submarine, he would run into a Russian agent, Agent XXX, who is also investigating their missing submarine from the Russian Navy. There, they would end up joining forces to work on this investigation. Although Agent XXX had a little secret about her, but I'll get to that later. The villain in this movie is Stromberg, an entrepreneur when it comes to ships and vessels at sea. He has this amazing fortress in the middle of the ocean called Atlantis. There, we would be introduced to one of his henchmen called Jaws. And Jaws is one of the most quintessential of henchmen in the James Bond franchise. With Jaws, we would see many of action sequences as James Bond and even Agent XXX go up against Jaws. The movie's story would take us to exotic locales like Egypt and Italy. Now, about Agent XXX's secret is that she lost a loved one on a mission in Austria. In the prologue, we would see that James Bond was the one who killed her love. And then we would see Agent XXX tell James that she will kill him after this mission to get revenge on her loved one. The car featured in The Spy Who Loved Me, again, is not an Aston Martin. This time, it's a Lotus. Like with the Aston Martin Db5, the Lotus equipped with defense and offensive mechanisms attached to the car. There's a moment in this chase where a helicopter was chasing James and Agent XXX. These action sequences were amazing. This action sequence was really long because it continued underwater, as we would see that this Lotus is an amphibious vehicle as it becomes a submarine. We would see a battle underwater as well when James would approach the Atlantis compound, that Stromberg's men would start attacking them with an underwater vehicle of their own, equipped with weapons. Kind of reminds me of the fight underwater in Thunderball. What I really loved about The Spy Who Loved Me is the action sequences in the third act. In the third act of the movie, there would be this huge battle within the tanker owned by Stromberg. We would eventually find out that Stromberg had stolen these submarines one from the Russians, one from the British, and this last one from the Americans that James Bond and Agent XXX happened to be on. That last big battle scene placed the Navy of the Russians, of the British, of the US against Stromberg's men inside that fortress of a tanker that they were in. It was pretty epic. It was basically a war within a ship. It was intense. And at the end of the movie, it was the typical James Bond making out with the Bond girl. And in the end, Agent XXX would forgive James, and I guess they make out and made whoopee. At the end of the movie, leading into the end credits, there was a sailors kind of barbershop quartet singing Nobody Does It Better in that type of style. And then it would merge into the actual song, which was really cool. And a little bit of trivia about that. During one of my high school musicals, I sung that song in that way for an audition. The Spy Who Loved Me is a very entertaining movie. The dialogue in it was pretty good for a James Bond movie. There was a lot of quips and jokes. For some of those quips and jokes, it became a little bit too much. The movie wasn't convoluted. It was pretty straightforward what was going on and easy to understand. But with The Spy Who Loved Me, they really stepped up when it comes to action. If you were to watch this movie now, some of the effects do look dated. There is a moment where a boat jumps out and you can definitely tell it was a toy boat. Yeah, some of the effects, even in that time period, looked a bit wonky. I do like these types of Bond girls where they have the similar edge on Bond, as in they are on the same level. Kind of like with Tracy in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I really like Agent XXX in comparison to James Bond. The movie is predictable, yet it is very fun and entertaining. Although some of the jokes are a little bit too much at times, but the action does compensate everything for it, because it is exciting to watch this type of action movie. With that, this is my review of The Spy Who Loved Me for week 11 of the weekly James Bond movie marathon. It is Moonraker. About that, at the end credits of The Spy Who Loved Me, they said the next movie would be For Your Eyes Only. But to compete with the Star Wars craze at the time, they decided to release Moonraker. And I can't wait to talk to you about that starting the week of the week you would watch Moonraker. If you've seen The Spy Who Loved Me, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. Please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't. Thank you for watching. Nobody does it better, makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you, baby, you're the best. And then it goes into the song.